Alrighty, folks, good evening and welcome to this pre recorded edition of the Whitfield analysis here on a Tuesday night. And usually we don't do a TV, we usually don't do an episode on Tuesday nights. But there's been a lot to cover this week. And as you may know, my friend Sean Semanko was in the news last week because he invited Milo to Penn State University with his organization uh, Uncensored America. So we actually have Sean on to talk with us. I wanted to get him on last weekend to try and talk, but we had Ian Ellis on the podcast this previous weekend, as many of you know, to talk about the whole merch controversy and whatnot. And but nevertheless, we have Sean here now, who if there's anything that Sean and I have in common, it's that we never start controversies, but yet controversies always seem to find us one way
Yes.
one way or another. So, Sean, welcome back to the show. How are you doing, Mr. Controversial alt-right, guy, I guess is what you're being called now?
I am doing a lot better now that I've finally rested up and just recovered from man, it was like a solid 2 weeks of craziness. And I mean, it was fun, it was great, I loved it, but it was crazy. I mean, we'll obviously be diving into it, but I feel great now. I feel like I have meaning, motivation, and it's gonna be some exciting stuff coming out soon.
Indeed. So, in regards to the whole Milo thing, let's just kind of cut to the chase. I know that there were lots of moving parts to it. And yes, folks, I can tell you, and I can tell you now that I did know a bit about this event in advance, but I was sworn to secrecy along with several others. But even so, I don't know all of the moving parts to this. So, first off, Sean, can you tell us a little bit, again, for the viewers who might not know, what is Uncensored America? And then, kind of as a follow up question, how did the idea to bring Milo to PSU originate?
Good question, because many people probably don't know what Uncensored America is, but it is a free speech organization, nonpartisan, that was started in 2020, and it was born because was a Turning Point president at the time at Penn State, and I was trying to bring Milo Yiannopoulos campus. Turning Point wouldn't let us. I know college Republicans still know to this day that they will never touch him. So we had to create our own club. And it was born out of that, but the mission became we are going to try and make America free and fun again by having like actual free speech, by being the club for the canceled people, being the organization for the banned, the censored, canceled, because nobody else wants to touch these people. And it's disappointing because there's so much potential, there's so much talent, there's so many cool, interesting people, or at least that's what I find personally interesting. They've just been kicked out of society because whatever BS reason the Twitter mob says. And it's very sad, and it's becoming a major problem for not just big celebrities, but little people, average people who are losing their jobs, losing friends because somebody just doesn't like their opinions, or they find something online they don't like and they blow it up and they get them fired from their jobs. They dox them. It's really awful, and we're trying to fight against that because I mean, free speech is going to be a never-ending battle in America because, yeah, the government won't infringe upon it, or they shouldn't, but it's really about free speech in the social and practical sense that's become a problem because it's just not there. We really don't have free speech practically. We don't have it socially. When you can be doxxed, when you can be canceled, when you can get fired, for something somebody doesn't like that you said, we really don't have free speech. And that's what we're trying to fight against by being the platform for those who aren't getting a platform elsewhere. And we want to have open dialogue, conversations. We were like, honestly, anybody from any side is welcome to come to meetings, to come to events. And I mean, of course, we have to kind of pick and choose who like participates in speaking events because it's just limited space. But we want people from the left, the right, the center, any side. And mostly we want to prioritize people who have been canceled. And that is really just how, like I said, it came about because we had somebody who's canceled by the left and the right. And nobody else was willing to bring him. I know there's a lot of people that want to, but no other organization, or should I say, free speech organization, was willing to bring him. None of these so-called free speech warriors were really stood for free speech. And we're trying to be different by just standing for free speech.
And if I can kind of interject another question in there, why is that? Because it seems to me that like you have Turning Point and you have the College Republicans who are much more clearly established. Like, what are they? I guess I don't want to use the term. I don't want to ask what are they afraid of, but I mean that almost seems like the appropriate type of question. What is keeping these other groups from bringing these canceled voices? Is it money? Is it
it's donors. It comes down to donors. They are scared of bringing somebody too controversial. They'll piss off their donors, and it's because their donors they're not the type of people, honestly, that I would want to donate to, let's say, Uncensored America, because in all reality, you need donors. Don't get me wrong. These things don't happen for free. They don't happen out of thin air. People have lives. They have food that needs to be put on the table. They need to live. And you have equipment you need. You need all kinds of stuff to run your organization. So you need donors. I get it. They just have the wrong donors. There are donors out there I've heard about that have actually pulled out of Turning Point because they don't stand for free speech, because they shut down Q&As, because they call Trump supporters racist, for just asking questions they don't want to hear. And that is the problem. I mean, it's very unfortunate, but that's where we're at.
So then, diving into donors a little more, because this is one area like I've participated in college Republicans, and then I was with Yale for a bit, and I never met the donors, but I got the feeling pretty quickly. Also, I live in Florida, so there are lots of retirees here anyway, but I get the feeling that a lot of these donors are, you know, I'm not going to mince words, but baby boomers who have money sitting around, and they don't really, they want to invest in things, but they want to kind of play it safe. Is that kind of correct? How most of the college Republican like type organizations do donors? Like what has your whole experience been with working with donors and whatnot?
I haven't had much experience with donors, but what I've heard is basically what you're describing, is that they are a bunch of boomers that play things very safe. And there's a place for that, but there isn't a place for the dangerous, controversial, provocative, interesting voices. Turning Point used to love Milo, and they even had a bunch of campus stops with him.
Oh,
but
I remember.
Yeah. Feels like long ago, but that was in the early days. But everything started to change when I think from what I've heard, Charlie kind of saw him as competition and being bigger and grander than him and his organization, and also probably was pissing off some donors. Like there's a bunch of theories I've heard thrown around, but ever since then, though, they have been lobbing the absolute most disgusting, slanderous lies about Milo. And that's what kind of told me there's something wrong here. Nobody is actually doing what needs to be done. Nobody's actually running a free speech organization and bringing the speakers people want to see, the speakers that made a difference in culture, and just anybody you want. I mean, it's so simple, but yet it's missing, and there's such a market for it. There's so many people that want to hear different voices, and that's what we're trying to do, is just bring different voices to the table and bring everybody to the table, because we're just not like that as a country anymore. We've divorced ourselves where you don't talk to him, he doesn't talk to she, we don't talk to them, and we're trying to bring that back by literally bringing people back to the table. And it's easy, it sounds easy and simple, it's not, but that's really what it comes down to. And you can tell on college campuses, on social media, it's boring without these people. It's boring without any of the interesting, provocative people that you may not always agree with, and you don't agree with anybody on everything. So it's like, what's the difference? But they're a different voice that moves the conversation forward, that actually is productive, because if you're controlling the conversation, you can't have a productive conversation. You can't have an honest conversation. You can't have a real conversation. You can't hear all perspectives. You can't do what the First Amendment is what it's intended to do, which is have all the voices there and the best ideas rise to the top. And that's where people get persuaded and they move on with those ideas and they become public policy or whatever it is, or we become a better society and we treat people better, whatever it may be. Those things just aren't happening because you do not have all the voices at the table. And that's what we're trying to change. I mean, yes, Milo is right wing, but as you will dive into soon, we were disavowed by the left and the right, and on a public, organizational, and personal level by these people. And that honestly sums us up. Like, you can't say we're not nonpartisan when both sides hate us, because we're doing what they won't do, which is having honesty and authenticity.
What was it like having your name thrown into the spotlight suddenly?
It was amazing. I got doxxed 5 times. I loved it. In all seriousness, I won't say I'm used to it. It makes me sound like some point. I'm used to it. I've done it before. Been there, done that. I really got a little bit of an awakening the first doxing. I've never been doxed before, but when it happened, it does kind of scare you. It does, because you're like, oh shit, what if they find my parents, they find my brother, they find my relatives, they get them fired from their jobs, blah, 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 blah. Like, all these thoughts go through your head, and that's why they do these things, is they're trying to intimidate you, scare you, and ruin your life and
Yeah.
everybody else's. But that's proving our point. This is the problem, is you really don't have free speech. If you can get canceled, if you can get fired from your job for saying something, you don't have free speech. You do not live in an environment with free speech. And, you know, there's arguments to be made for social ostracization. I get it, but you can't say that you have free speech when you can get somebody fired or canceled, or doxxed, like they were doing. And it's scary for some people, that to the point that they just chicken out and they cave to the pressure. For me, it's just another day on the job. I embrace the hate. It doesn't bother me.
Yes,
And
I've had to learn to do the same.
yeah, and that's what happens when you're in the public eye. When you put yourself out there, you have to either learn how to deal with it and fight with it, or you're it's not for you then. If you can't do it, it's not for you.
Well, and I mean, I remember something that Gavin said a while ago, which I've kind of always subscribed to, which is, if you're going to be a public figure, you you can't be afraid to put your name on something. And
I agree.
and this kind of flies in the face of, like, uh a lot of people we associate with who use screen names on the internet. And look, I
I
get
get
it,
it.
but like I've explained to uh like I've explained to Apex Gamma and some of the other people that we associate with, I came up, and you kind of did too. When I started doing political commentary, people didn't use screen names. People just use their names on the internet. Now, it was a different time back when I started, like in 2011, because there wasn't as much of a fear of people, you know, I guess doxing you back then. See, this is the other weird thing. It's like I feel like when I'm not sure about you, but when I started in politics, like the idea that someone would dox you or try to, get you fired from your job over a differing political view was insane.
Yeah.
Like at the worst, someone might try and get your Twitter account like, shut down or something, but oh well. Oh well, that was it. Now it seems like the worst of the internet on both sides has kind of permeated uh IRL or in real life culture, and it's become a big problem.
Yeah, totally. And that's, again, like you said, it goes to exactly what we were talking about, which is there just isn't um, a safe, free environment to express yourself. And that's dangerous because society just becomes fake. And that's what really, not to go too much into the other organizations, we can do that later, but that's what really, really pisses me off about the college Republican, college Democrat, turning point types. It's just all so fake. I mean, usually the students are pretty good with turning point. Usually the ones with CRs are pretty elitist. Usually the ones with college Dems are elitist. But it's usually the national like part of turning point that's like the worst, that sucks. But honestly, I've noticed, at least on my campus, there's a shift with the chapter where the chapter is, and I think it's because it's a more politically inactive time. A lot of the cool, normal, fun people are not involved at all. They are at just doing whatever they want to do, but that means the void is being filled with just these grifters, these mean, petty, um, just not the people you want to be with. These people that are not in it for the right reasons. They're not genuine, and they're either grifters or they're just weak people, honestly. And that's what I'm noticing is happening.
Well, there were a lot of people who jumped on the kind of Trump MAGA train after the election, and by which I mean after the election, I mean after 2016, when it was kind of, I don't know, safe to be a Trump supporter.
Mm,
Um, and but then like the other thing, so here's kind of another thing that I've noticed is you are not black pilled at all.
not yet.
And I well, and I appreciate that because I will admit that like a lot of people I know are just, and I get it, things are things are shitty right now under Biden and just kind of, in general.
Hmm.
But people get, I feel people get blackpilled to the extent where they're just like, fuck it, nothing is worth doing in it, and it's like, well then why, have an organization, or why do a podcast? If you feel like nothing is worth it, then why not just vanish? Why bitch about it online? Even.
Yeah. Yeah, I get where it comes from. It's just very negative energy that I don't want to be around. And I'm the same way where it's just like, you know, I don't want to be around that. I don't want people like that around me because it's unproductive, and I understand why people are like that, so I will talk to them, but I think people are falling for the usual traps and the usual trends, which is when things don't go your way, you get all butthurt and upset. And I understand things are bad. That's why I'm here doing what I'm doing. And if you don't fight, there is no hope. If you fight, there's hope. It's that simple. I mean, that doesn't mean you're going to win. I mean, I think a really good analogy I heard is that we're kind of an Empire Strikes Back. We had a new hope in 2016. Trump came in, blew up the Death Star. But you do that, and the Empire is going to strike back, and that's what we're in now. They stole the election now. We're in Empire Strikes Back. Return of the Jedi is the next chapter in 24. And that's how I think things are going to go.
And you know, to your point, I think what happened was people were acting like it was Return of the Jedi in 2016, to use that metaphor, and people got way too complacent. And I mean, like, I'm not saying you did, but I knew people were like, oh, but Biden, are you kidding me? Trump has this in the bag. We don't have to do. Trump's got this, man. And I was like, I want to, you know, I want to say that, like, you'd still better get out there and, like, campaign. And I know you did. But there were some other people who were like, Trump's got this in the bag. Everything's fine. And then when, you know, when things turned out the way they did, they were, like, shocked.
Right.
So, I mean, I feel like we can't ever really be complacent. I mean, yeah, we can celebrate and whatnot, but I mean, I remember reading one of Milo's blog posts, like, after the 2016 election, where he was saying, like, we can't be complacent. There's still much more work to be done. And, you know, he was right then, and he's right now. Now, in regards to Milo, so he's been out of the public spotlight for a while. So I guess, how has Milo changed?
That's a good question because I wish I met Gay 2016 Milo to have a better sense of things, but I think if there's one thing that's probably never changed about him, it's his personality. And I can tell you on a personal level, meeting him, driving him around, hanging out with him for a little bit, and whatnot, he is one of the most interesting people I've ever met. One of the most interesting characters I've ever just interacted with, spent any period of time with, because a lot of people usually have trouble telling when he's serious or joking, and that seems to be like the problem he runs into. And it's kind of like I always say, it's like when you see Trump live, it's different from Trump on TV because you can clearly tell what's a joke and clearly tell what isn't. And then the media takes things out of context and spins things, and you think such and such is awful when it's really just a joke. But in person, you would clearly tell the difference versus on TV, you believe whatever the MSN tells you. With Milo, he is exactly like you see on every video, on every interview, on anything you've ever seen. He's exactly the same way when the cameras are off. The only thing I notice differently is he's a little quieter, almost a little introvert in some ways, which is interesting, but he is constantly, relentlessly fucking with you, teasing you, messing with you, poking you, having fun with you, playing with you. And I think it's a sign of affection, like, because I think he likes me. I think he did. He wrote "I Love You," my book, but Dangerous, like his copy of Dangerous that I have. Yeah, I'll tell you that in a second. I'll tell you more about what we did, but no, it's very interesting because I've never dealt with something like that. Because there's a lot of people that you'll say like, "Oh, I know so and so," and he's always kind of joking around. This is nothing like that. Like, it's so hard to describe, but the only way I can say is like every sentence, every interaction is him like messing with you. And at first, you're probably going to be a little put off by it, I was super stressed and paranoid, so I was kind of like thrown off by, but I bet he knew I was in that mindset and deliberately just ramped it up to mess with me more. Um,
That
but when you realize what he's doing, you realize this guy's really fun, really cool, and really nice. He is a really cool, genuine person. He's just kind of like that personality type that you just don't deal with ever. You've probably like never met, so like you have to kind of get used to it, and then you see like what he's doing, and that's when you start bonding with him, I think.
yeah, well, part of the reason I asked though too is like, 2016 Milo was like, so I mean, to put it bluntly, I mean, like he was a flamboyant gay man, and so like the fact that he's I guess decided not to be gay anymore. That's like, I guess that's the thing that like people are wondering too, and people were asking me this, right? Well, you were in the middle of the controversy. Like people were asking me like, you know, why is Sean bringing Milo, and also is Milo straight, or is this a bit, or was the gay thing a bit, or and this, that, and that, and I'm like, well, I don't. I'm the wrong person to ask. I don't really. I mean, like I've had correspondence with Milo like briefly before, but like he knows who I am, but he and I don't really know each other
Right.
all that well. So like I'm the wrong person to ask about that, but like I don't know. I mean, like on the one hand, from what you're saying, it doesn't seem like Milo has changed a whole lot, like in terms of personality. Uh, is that fair to say?
That's what I would guess. I think his opinions have changed on things and evolved, and I understand why they have, and I agree with some of his changes, but I will say it's on the gay thing, like it being an act or whatever. You can tell the way he dresses, the way he acts, the mannerisms. He is gay. He has same sex attraction. There's no doubt. When I see that cheetah print, leopard print, I forget which one it is he's into. I'll just fact check that. Case on his phone and a Gucci bag with wine in it, um and he asks you to do makeup and hair before a few hours before his performance. Yeah, I think he's gay. But
He's still, that's what you're saying.
well, I'll dive into that in a second, but he it's like I think people gotta understand if anybody that's a performer in public or anybody that does public speaking, you always crank your personality up a notch.
Sure.
You always take it up because you're public speaking, you want to be more exciting than just talking like you and I. I mean, I'm trying to be interesting because we're on YouTube, but you ramp it up and you dial it up. So yeah, he dial up the gayness in public. Yeah, that's part of his performance, and it's great, and there's nothing wrong with it. But just because he still has same sex attraction doesn't mean he's acting on it. And that's the difference that he talks about that I think is very important distinction. Because when he says he's ex-gay, it's obviously a little playful and funny, but what he means by that is like, yeah, I have these same sex attractions. I can't change it, but the one thing I can change is if I act upon it. And I don't think it's right to act upon it. It's making me unhealthy and unhappy. And so I'm just going to stop. That's what he's done. And what's really weird to me, like, I mean, it does sound a bit weird to most people at first, like, what he did. But to me, I don't quite understand what's so weird about, because celibacy goes any way, either way. Doesn't matter your attraction. There are vol cells of any group. And for the left to say a lot of times that sexuality is fluid and all these other things, what the hell is wrong with somebody just saying, I just don't want to do it anymore. It doesn't make me happy. Like, why is that just so, blow a gasket? Like, you can't have that. it's just I don't know. I don't get the way people react. I don't think people are being as open minded as they should be.
Right. Well, I to play devil's advocate for a sec, I think see the people who are now like saying that he's not gay anymore. Those are the same people who thought that gay Milo in 2016 was a bit and that he was faking, right? Like I've noticed that a lot of the critics who are criticizing him now are the ones who are the same people who were like criticizing him then. And so that's why I find the fact that like his personality hasn't really changed to be so interesting. And like what I don't the only thing that I liked about Milo being like overly flamboyant like gay is the fact that I could rub it in people's faces being like, yeah, now we have an overly flamboyant gay on our side now too. What do you think about that? I mean, other than that though, I've never, other than that, like I never cared that Milo is gay or anything else. I just found it amusing just to like troll the people who are like, well, you're homophobic. And it's like, no.
Well, and that's the thing too. That I really just it's just he's just a very fascinating person because when people say he's a troll, he is like he's. I mean, I started now looking back and in the moment, like later when I was talking with him on the second day, I started to notice like where the serious moments were, where the not joking was. But he is a troll to the core, and and he's I believe 100% that he's authentic about this lifestyle change, and I think he's a very authentic person. But he is still a troll, and just because he's made this change doesn't mean he can't have fun with it, and that's how he does. That's how he goes about things.
I I also like the fact that he trolls both sides now too. And I mean
Yeah, I'd argue he's much harder on the right than the left, and I am too.
well, I mean, yeah, and I mean so am I. I mean, I still need to write Milo a thank you letter, and I need to try and not like I'm gonna try and do this without having a direction, but when Milo a few months ago infamously trolled Owen Benjamin into basically like an intervention, uh, and the so-called comedian didn't get that it was like a that it was an intervention with Milo until it was too late. That was one of maybe I'm just biased, but that was one of the funniest bits that Milo has done in a long time.
Oh, the one where he talked to Owen on that one episode for Censor.tv.
Yeah, and he's just like, oh, and like you can't like I get what you're saying like homesteading, but you can't like there's a reason why civilization exists, and I think you've been spending too much time out there, in the wild. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that I think he brings up a valid point with that, honestly. And that's something that I was actually talking about that with a therapist today about, where would you want to live once you and your girlfriend settle in? Where are you gonna live? And I'm like, well, I want to be near a city, but I don't want to abandon civilization. I don't want to pull an Owen, so to speak.
yeah, we're living in a really weird time where like I mean I got out of Colorado honestly. I think I picked the right time to get out of Colorado because I mean that place is a little for one it's expensive, and not to say that Florida is super cheap, but at least it hasn't been crippled by COVID, and things are happening here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, talk about an expensive ass place to live. Oof. Is some of these like places like Denver or any of these other sort of liberal metropolitan areas. And it's like again, like a good example is like New York. I love to live close to New York, but it's so freaking expensive. I love to live close to DC or in Virginia, but it's so freaking expensive.
Yeah, my best friend in the world lives in DC, and thankfully he got a deal where like he's splitting like one of those oh I don't know, brownstones. He's splitting like a brownstone with like six other guys, but like that's the only way he's able to afford it.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, and I mean I'd love to get him on the podcast, but I can't because of his job. Um, but
And
but I'll be sure to tell you more about him off air because he is a. I mean, he and I are kind of like the mirror of each other politically, if or I guess doppelgangers, if that's any indication.
yeah, it makes sense. Did you get a chance to watch the replay of the Milo event?
I haven't had a chance to watch the whole thing yet, so that is another thing I wanted to ask you about too. Is there was the Milo event, but then there was the counter protest. Uh, Now I don't know if like counter protest is the right word, but there was like another event. So how did you feel about that and kind of that whole thing?
Oh man, that's something to talk about. So the counter protests I had heard about, um, you pretty wanted like so. What happened was with this event, things went a little slower than usual to announce it, and we announced about a week and a half out. We announced on the Friday of let me check my calendar here of October 29th. No, 22nd. Yeah, October 22nd. We announced it. And then the following week, we had a full week. And then the event happened the week after on the 3rd. And announced on Friday, made some ripples. I got banned from the Turning Point chat immediately, even though I got permission to announce it. Long story about that. But when Monday hit is when we had our permanent posters up in our student center where they go in these plastic like display cases. And what's great about those is the leftists can't tear them down. Well, they used to not be able to. But when that went up, that's when this thing blew up. Within a few hours, like we sold so many tickets, it was in so many news articles, like it just blew up. This poster didn't even need to be up the full day. It was only up like a few hours, and that is all it really took to sell out. And I mean, we didn't sell all the tickets that day, but like that was what blew things up. And because of that, one of the effects was one of the I think it was a gender equity center. I forget who technically did this event, but it sounds like to me Penn State made a counter event. They made this group or one of their gender equity centers, LGBT groups, I don't know which one it was. They made one of their people do an alt event to draw protesters away because they know what Milo brings out in people. They know what happens when Milo comes to campus. Our president, President Barron, infamously said in 2016 or 17, we dodged the bullet when Milo canceled. Because it was supposed to come then with the college Republicans. It's not like they kind of fucked something up. I don't know what really happened. But they know what happens when he comes to campuses. And I didn't know what to expect with the protests. I just knew they'd be the worst we've seen in Penn State history since Joe Paterno was fired. And they, we had about, I'd say, like 200 protesters outside the event, maybe more, maybe a little less, but I think a little more. And there were hundreds that were at the counter event. But what's very interesting about that counter event, what I have to mention, is that it was in a venue that holds 500 people. And we had originally wanted to do Milo in that particular event on that particular day. And they told us we couldn't do it for security reasons. They said, well, since this other room's available, we're going to use this one because it's easier to secure. And I'm like, okay, fine. I understand that. I want this event to happen. I want it to be secure. But it really annoys me that we can't do the event in that room, but they can. They can. They can do their event, but we can't do our event in that room.
Sure.
That pisses me off. But yeah, we got disavowed from everybody. I mean, they came pretty quickly too. Like Penn State disavowed like real quick. I think it was the next day they disavowed. After that Monday, I think it was the Tuesday night they disavowed. But we got disavows from the Gender Equity Center, the Black Caucus, Latino Caucus, the College Republicans gave a no comment, so it's not very direct disavow, but
Yeah, I mean,
let me
it
just
might
tell
as
you,
well have been, right?
yeah, it's an indirect disavow. They're like, we stand for free speech, but we're not going to comment on the content of the speaker. I'm like, okay, how about you just like shut the fuck up and not say anything? Just say we support the right to free speech. Boom, that's it.
Pick one fence sitter.
Literally, it's like just say you support free speech and be like actually Republicans for once, or just shut up. And I know what these people said behind the scenes personally, and let me tell you, all their exec board, except there are other people that are loosely related to the exec board. I don't know if I'd call them execs, but their core exec board, president, treasurer, secretary, VP, they all hated this event. They all hated what we did. And I think on a personal level, they probably don't like me anymore. But what was really...
Welcome to the club.
I know, it's great. It's fabulous. And with the Turning Point people, this one was really interesting. Because this is a game... I don't want to get too deep into the drama that's happening, but I got permission from their president to post in their announcement chat about this. He was cool with it. Once I posted it, his board flipped out, and their VP kicked me from the chat. I'm still banned, even though they promised I'd be let back now. I'm banned from their chat, and they're basically like, it's like two board members against the other two. Like, it's a real whole coup d'etat. But one of the other board members is actually really cool and volunteered for the events. I give a lot of credit for her, and she's very nice. But they're a mess. They're a total mess. And they don't stand for free speech. They just simply don't. They didn't make any statement disavowing it, which is good. But I know, again, on personal level, they all hated this and hate me. Because one thing that started happening is this magazine called the Valley Magazine made this post. And it went viral for whatever reason. But it had a picture of the poster on campus. And it said, "Do better, Penn State." Now, I want to give a little context too, because I'm kind of forgetting this. But the reason this blew up is because the poster has 4 words on it that made everybody lose their minds. I thought Milo was enough to burn campus down, but it wasn't. It was these 4 words: "Pray the gay away." That is what set people off.
Yes.
And if you know anything about Milo, you know that this is like tongue-in-cheek, has a little bit of truth to it, but it's having fun at the end of the day.
Well, and the other thing too, so I'm glad they brought this up, because I was actually going to ask you. So people were asking me, like, they're like, does Sean, really think that and whatnot? And I'm like, well, look at who the guest is, and look at like what the headline is. Like it has Milo written all over it. Like, that's like his. That sounds like something that Milo would say. Just be an asshole. So.
And as usual, they took the bait. But even what's interesting is like Penn State in their disavow, they were like, they almost seemed like they learned. They're trying to act like they learned. They were like, okay, guys, all he wants is attention and you to freak out. So go to an alternative event and don't protest. Like, they were trying to act like they learned their lesson. And inevitably, there were still protesters. Like, you can't stop it. But what's funny, too, in their statement is like, their statement is basically like, we hate this guy, we disavow, but we can't stop it. And I'm like, yeah, we're inevitable. We're inevitable, bitch. And, after that, though, That poster went up, like I said, made people lose their minds. And I keep getting people that were all pissy at me. Like, they're like, Sean, this is too far. Like, do you actually believe this? Like, I was getting that too. And I'm like, look, I agree with a lot of things that Milo says. And I see where he's coming from on this. And I understand his position, but none of that matters. I mean, it's free speech. We are a free speech club. We're trying to give a platform for people to speak their minds. Why do I have to agree with it? I don't need to agree with it.
I
And I even told people, I'm like, look, I'm not even Christian. I mean, I don't even need to throw this disclaimer out, like, because it doesn't matter. But I'm not Christian. I mean, I'm not religious. I should be more clear. I'm not religious at all. I'm
right.
agnostic. I don't believe in anything. I don't even have a problem with homosexuality. But none of that matters. I don't need to agree with the message, and neither do you. You can come to it. And I kept telling people that. I said, come with an open mind. We are going to have a Q&A where people can ask questions. If you disagree, ask them a question. And that, again, goes back to what our point is. Like, this all proves our point, which is that we don't live in a free speech society. We don't live in a place where people can agree and disagree, but still come to things, listen to different opinions, speak their minds, and come away with hopefully learning something or seeing the other perspective. Because I can see Milo's perspective. I get it. I know what he's doing might be good for him, might not be good for other people, but also might be good for other people. Why can't people have options? Why can't people have different opinions? And with sexuality too, it's like, what is so wrong with having the option to refrain from homosexual activity or even say, heterosexual? Like, what is so bad about this? And if you were interested in that, come to the event. That is the point of this.
Well, to me, from what I did, I mean, I did see a few clips, and to me, it didn't seem like Milo was really calling anyone out per se, or like purposely attacking. Like, he wasn't telling people to go kill themselves or anything
No.
like this, and that was like that was like,
The message of what he was saying, like, whether you agree with the methodology or the way he wanted to do this, but what the message really was, be a better person. You may think, refraining from homosexual activity is not being a better person, or it is, or whatever. But that was his message. That was his way of saying, this is what I think can make you a better person, a happier and healthier person.
well, I mean, I think be a better person. I mean, it seems like a quaint, thing, but I mean, in today's society, fuck, I mean, it's it's more relevant than ever. I think.
Yeah, and honestly, too, what really gets me, I'm not trying to sound like a leftist, but these were the people that were all freaking out. It was like, you can't pray the gay away. It's like, do you really think that's what he literally means? Like, I had people on the right saying this, like, you can't pray the gay away. I'm like, do you get the humor here? Like, do you get it? Like, he's using a provocative slogan for a reason. I mean, I don't even want to explain because it ruins a joke, but it's like,
Right.
guys, you're taking it too seriously and literally. Like, it's funny, okay? The slogan is funny. And the topics he's talking about are relevant to it, so it's funny. It's a funny way of opening up the conversation. I mean, I don't know how else to keep explaining it, but um, but not to sound like a leftist, but everybody that's like saying you can't be ex-gay, you can't, gay. There's nothing wrong with being gay. Everybody that's saying this is straight, and I'm like, how do you know? Like, who are you to say? You don't know what it's like to be gay. I mean, he does. He spent like 33 years being gay. I mean, why can't. I mean, it just blows my mind that you can't just sit down and listen to a different perspective. And that, again, that goes back to our point. This is the problem. People just aren't willing to do that. And we're trying to push people to do that, to come out here. We even got some people that initially were like, I'm not going to this. This guy's just a hateful asshole. Rah, rah, rah. We actually got some of those people to the event. You want to know who actually came to the event? You're going to love this part. Guess who came?
I told him, and by him I mean Jeff. If
That's right.
the well, be okay. So here's a little of. So I didn't want to name names, but since
Name him. Name him.
but since we're talking about Jeff, Jeff was. And this is one of the reasons why I want to have you on, because I am going to send this podcast to Jeff. I hope he listens to it, because he and I had a very, because he's one of these people who he literally sent me voice messages on Facebook Messenger, and he was like, "Does Sean, really believe all like the praise?" And I told him, I said, well, you've been around him in person, and he's like, yeah, but you know him a bit better, and I'm like, okay, well, fair enough. I'm like, based on the interactions I've had with him, like, no, he doesn't, he, I said I said Sean, because like Jeff was like saying like he's afraid that you're going to turn into like a Nick Fuentes type, and I'm like, look, I'm like,
Well, at the rate the West's going, maybe. No, I'm kidding.
well,
Slightly kidding.
you're not. I mean, yes and no, but I'm like at the end of the day, I'm like Sean is. I'm like, and I don't mean this as a defense, because I'm the exact one. I'm like, Sean is not an agent provocateur who just goes out there to like set the internet on fire just for the lulz. Like, he's actually.
I kind of enjoy that, but yeah,
I
sure.
mean, sure, it's fun. It's fun. I mean, I did it. I did it a few weeks ago when I told people that Alec Baldwin's latest performance was killer, and people were screaming that. I mean, I enjoy it too, but like,
I do with a point though. Like I want to be clear. Like if
yeah.
I'm pissing you off, there's a point to it, and there's a reason behind it. I'm not doing it to be ill intent.
Well, and the other thing is, like me, you're just kind of a friendly, nerdy guy. Like,
Well, you know what Milo said to me in the car? It was really funny. Like, I, I mean, he couldn't have said it better. Like, I asked him, because I told his assistant who works for Church Militant, which is what Milo works for now, which is like this Catholic Breitbart type site, and I told him like, actually, I'm not religious, and then his assistant was like, really? I was like, yeah, I'm not, and I was later in the car with Milo, and I was like, "Did your assistant tell you my deep, dark secret about religion?" And Milo's like, didn't say a word like yes or no. He just goes, "Don't tell me you're a Reddit atheist." And I'm like, "Well, well, I was. I just that was my response. Was like, I was, but I've now evolved to more agnostic, and I'm kind of open to anything." But he could pick it out. I mean, I think it was. I asked him like, "Is it the hair? Was it the hair?" Like, let's be honest. And of course, his assistant who was in the back said, "You look like the guy from the Facebook movie." I'm like, "Yeah. I've heard that before. Thank you." um, but it was funny. But I told him, I said, "No, I mean, I did used to use Rel. I still kind of use it, but I was atheist, now agnostic." But um, a lot of people have these assumptions about me because like I said, I got doxxed 5 times. So people are kind of tracking me down, like looking into me, and they're like, "Oh, this is the guy. This is the villain. It's behind all this. This is the Emperor Palpatine. This is the man behind the curtains." And I'm like, they're like frameless. He's like, "This is the biggest. This is the guy who hates gay people." I'm like, you know nothing about me. Like, I think you saw that video. I know Jeff did too, and he had disagreement with my tactics, but that's fine. Um, where there was this guy who was outside our student center, and he was getting people out to the protest, handing out flyers, and he was with this group called Students Against Sexist Violence. I don't know what that means, but as Milo said, who doesn't like sexist violence? But they were out there, and one of the people recognized me, and that's when the guy started like doxing me, like naming me and targeting me. And he just, you know what he did? He's such an NPC. He just took what he was saying about Milo. He's like, Milo is a racist, is a sexist, is Islamophobic, imperialist, bigot. And we're going to protest him. He's coming November 3rd. And he like handed these flyers. And when they found out I was there and they started naming me, he goes, Sean Semanko is behind this event. Sean Semanko is bringing Milo Yiannopoulos to campus. Sean Semanko is a racist, is a sexist, is a homophobe, Islamophobe. And we're going to protest him and stop men like him from bringing hateful people on the campus. I'm like, you literally just like switched the code. Like you switched the variable there. It's like,
Right.
Milo, nope, Sean. Like it just took the same thing and just switched it. And I'm like, this just shows you right there, you are 100% disingenuous. You're a hateful, lying scumbag who is hiding behind a mask, mind you, while outside. I'm out here. My name is attached to everything. I'm loud and proud about what I'm doing. I'm not hiding. I'm putting a name and a face to what I'm doing. And this guy's out here outdoors wearing a mask and wouldn't even talk to me. He just keeps repeating this like, oh, he's like a broken record. So cringe. Like he just wouldn't stop. I'm like, dude, like, can we talk? And he wouldn't. I didn't post that video, maybe I should, but I kept asking him and prodding him, and he would never ever engage. He just
Well,
kept going.
and that was the other thing too. Is Jeff was like, why didn't Sean talk to the guy? I told him, I'm like, look, I said, I guarantee you that Sean tried to talk to the guy because I do know Sean is like that. He's not like Nick Fuentes where he's going to make fun of someone and then just tell him to go fuck off or
I
something.
tried talking to him first, and then I made fun of him because he just wouldn't engage.
Sure.
Yeah,
That's exactly what happened with the whole with me and the whole merch controversy.
right. Well,
Like,
and this guy too. I should post more of the videos. I was just so busy that I put what I could up on Twitter, and Twitter has this like limit of of how much video you can upload on mobile, which is really annoying. So I honestly, I'm glad you mentioned this because I'm a right reminder. So Jeff, stay tuned. I will put up more video of me trying to engage with this guy. I'm writing a reminder actually right now in my notes. Upload video of Antifa guy. Yeah, that's the other thing. These people were Antifa. They were in an Antifa front group. They had this dude thing with them that had like this purple mohawk. I was like, oh, I've seen you before because that person was at the anti or it was at the pro vaccine mandate protest where this one dude Avi got punched, who was a anti vaccine mandate guy, and that purple haired mohawk thing was at that with some of these other people. And so I'm like, I could tell they were Antifa. One person was all dressed in black too. Same group doing this, and and they just wouldn't engage at all. And that's when I realized, like, again, this is the problem here, and it's just so disingenuous, so fake, and it's so slanderous. Like I flat out told the guy when he would say like you're a racist, you're this and that. I'm like, you don't know me. You know nothing about me. The fact that you're just flipping the script here, name swapping with Milo with me, tells me you know nothing about me. You're just slandering me. You have ill intent. You're an awful person. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that. You don't know me, and you're just calling me these things deliberately to slander me because you can. And it's really sick. It's really sick. And then these people dox you and get like a hate mob after you, and they know nothing about you. They know nothing about you except your name, address, phone number, and street and all that shit. But yeah, just awful, awful, hateful people. And it's like, this is the problem that we've been talking about. Is that these people are doing this to people they don't like.
and the other thing too is these people are getting away with it too. I mean, you know, I guess legally they shouldn't, but they are in many cases. Um, hardly any of the Antifa protesters, like in Colorado, I know, got arrested. Like they were able to just like leave and you know go about their business. And
Right.
you know, that is one thing though that I guess I was kind of amazed by. Um, were there was there any point where you figured, okay, they're going to cancel this for safety reasons?
It
Um,
was a concern, um, but I didn't think it. I was so confident in this, and the fact that the university said, "Yeah, this is happening, and we can't stop it," gave me the extra bit of confidence I needed to know. Yeah, this is happening. I mean, anything can and will happen, but maybe we got lucky. I don't know, but Penn State even told me before that we never, like a few times, canceled events and never for security reasons. So it
I,
was looking up and up, and that's how it ended up being. And I wanted to say too quickly about Jeff. Like when I saw he got a ticket, I think he DM'd me and was asking about. I immediately was like, dude, you're going on the guest list. Like you are the type of person I want at this event because you most likely disagree. You are on the opposite political side of the political spectrum, and you have an open mind. Like you're the person that should be at this event, and you are the person that I'd love to have at this. So I was so glad to see him come. Like I honestly was, because yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people that agree with him. I bet there are people that disagree, and we saw that during the Q&A. But um, I wanted more people that were willing to just have a
it
conversation, discuss,
it was
and ask a question, or just come in with an open mind. Because there may be some you might disagree with everything, but if there's one thing that you disagree with that your mind was changed on, or that you found interesting, that's a win for me.
and listen, I mean, I can say this because because I know that like half my audience, I know that more than half my audience hates Jeff, and they can't understand why I associate with him. And look, I mean, I've known Jeff probably for a decade now at this point, which I just now realized that
Wow.
it's been that long. Yeah, I think he joined Junior Factor Nation when when we were both like juniors in high school, and yeah, now we're both in our mid 20s. But I mean, even when Jeff went from being like conservative to being like more libertarians, and now, I mean, he wouldn't to say he wouldn't say he's far left. I mean, in some responses,
He's left wing just in general now.
I think he kind of is, but
It's a sad fall from grace, but we'll get you
well,
back, Jeff.
I I
We'll
will
bring you back to
we
the good place.
we will redeem you. And by the way, I'm not.
Every great character has a redemption arc.
Yeah, this will be his Walter White redemption arc. But I mean,
Well, we don't want to kill Jeff.
well, yeah, well, I don't at the very least. So
Yeah, well, it's the every redemption arc I think of the character dies. I was gonna say Jamie Lannister. I was gonna say Darth Vader. I'm like, shit, they all die. Like one that survives. We don't want to kill our friend Jeff.
Jack Bauer maybe, but then again, I mean, I don't want Jeff locked up in a Russian prison for you know for all of eternity either. So,
Yeah,
um,
I
but
think he'll get the analogy,
but
but no, I mean, I see your point. It's amazing you've known him for 10 years. I mean, that's long ass time,
and I mean
honestly.
there are a few moments where like he will DM me and he'll be like, dude, I can't believe you just tweeted that or something like that. But but like I think he's figured out that usually when I tweet stuff like that, like like I'm purposely trolling and like trying to be provocative, but like
Yeah,
for the most part, for the most part, like I think he's started to understand like when people are trolling and when people are being serious. And I mean,
yeah.
and I
Well,
mean,
that's the problem in general is that like this country really has lost its sense of humor, and that's what I noticed with the Milo thing. It's just people don't know how to laugh anymore. It seems like it's like, yeah, you have your comedy stuff, but when things are more subtle, when things are more ironic, people just they just don't get it. I mean, even I sometimes don't get it. It's annoying, but I hope I get it better than most people. That's unfortunately the world we live in. And again, that's what I was telling people about the event and the name of it. I'm like, just don't take it so seriously. And it's just freaking words. I mean, calm down. I mean, have you heard what the Willard preacher says every day? He's this guy that is a preacher that stands outside one building every day and just he's like the stereotypical like evangelical Christian. He's like an ortho bro though. But I'm just like, you hear this every day when you come out of Willard. Like, simmer down. This is like milquetoast compared to that. But you know, if you listen to Miles' full speech, which is currently on Church Militant, I'm gonna start editing it tonight, like my own version to upload on our YouTube channel. But most of it was like edgy jokes. Like it was mostly edgy jokes. Like there was definitely some serious commentary, but like most of it was just edgy jokes. Like he had this opening bit that was really funny. And I knew he was the one joke I knew he was gonna do. It's like it kind of the idea came off when I showed him the college Dems disavow, where they said that like one of their like reasons they disavow him was that he blamed Muslims for the Pulse nightclub shooting, and I'm like, really? That's the biggest problem you got with the guy is that he pointed out something that was true, which was that a Muslim murdered a bunch of gay people.
Uh,
Um, and so he took that and cleverly made like an edgy joke out of it, which he's like, I wanted to open with an apology. They said that I said that that I blame Muslims for the Pulse nightclub shooting. I blamed Omar Mateen, who was a Muslim, for this. And I'd like to apologize for my poor choice of words and say that Omar Mateen did nothing wrong. I was like, whoa. It's an edgy joke. Like, it's just deliberately provocative and funny. I mean, you may not like that style of humor, but then he's not for you then, okay? But it's funny. It was fucking funny.
Milo, it's weird, but Milo does have a little bit of Norm Macdonald's type of humor where it'll just be like random edgy jokes. Like I remember one of my favorite Norm jokes is that I found that I recently discovered is
Is it the one about women drivers? That was
well
a hilarious one.
there's that one, but there's this new thing called Twitter, right? I remember when tweeting meant stabbing a hooker repeatedly. And, his producer is like, oh, Jesus, Norm, why would what? It's true that's what tweeting used to mean.
Yeah.
Stabbing a hooker.
I
It,
love that woman driver bit where he's like a study was just done that showed that 52% of women say that they're the better driver. I forget how it actually goes, but it's like 52% of women say that they're the best driver, and 60% men say they are. Those numbers don't add up because the study was done by a woman. And the audience is like, "Whoa!" And he's like, "What? What? That joke was written by a woman." And then
it,
they all laugh. It's
so
like, just kidding. We'll hire women.
that's one of the best bits on there too. The other the other bit I love is there was I mean he used to shit on the Clintons mercilessly
Oh yeah, yeah,
all the time.
yeah.
And
He killed the guy. Bill Clinton. Yeah, he killed the guy. He's a murderer.
I also remember what are the jokes that I shouldn't have laughed at was and in other news, President Bill Clinton called O.J. Simpson today because he wants to know if he wants to know what how OJ did it.
Yeah,
More more importantly, he wants to know how he can do do it to his wife and get away with that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it's
so,
funny.
but
And
yeah,
that's what people miss in Milo is that he has so much like really good humor. Like he is supremely talented. He's extraordinarily talented and very funny, very witty. Like I remember those. Did you see the part where that one woman in the audience was like, I don't want to say heckling him, but they had like a back and forth.
no, I didn't get to that part yet.
Oh yeah, I don't like ruining these bits, but he basically says like, she says something that like I think he asked the room like, how many of you believe, um, I don't think it was like are gays born in this way. I don't think it was that. I think it was something else. And nobody raised their hands. I guess Jeff didn't either. But yeah, something like that. And like it wasn't that one, but it was another one. Because the first one nobody raised their hand, and the second one some people did. And he like pointed at her, and he's like, "What? What's your husband's opinion?" or something like that. He just like starts going off with her, and he's like, and they had like a back and forth later that was funny, but you'll have to watch the full thing. And I like said, I'll upload our own version, but it was a lot of fun. And he talked about conversion therapy, homosexuality, faith, religion, all these other things. He did a prayer too, and he even did this one part where I remember he had me do this. He randomly like a few days before was like it was like a week before. He's like, "Get me fill the room and get me an electroshock box," because he wanted to like do a pretend electroshock therapy on a student. And what was really cool though is like, and people kept asking like, "Oh, is he a plant?" But the student he picked was not a plant. It was totally at random. But he said he'd pick a gay student out of the audience, and this guy was a totally great sport about it. It was great. Had a lot of fun with it. And I had to get my like a lab coat like the day of that he wore during it. I still have it with me here. Um, but it was a lot of fun, and people we miss this sort of stuff used to be acceptable and like normal in America. Now it's like you get canceled for it. You're racist, you're sexist, you're homophobe, you get outcast, and you know people just don't get it anymore, and they just don't have fun anymore with this sort of stuff. And if it's not your thing, that's fine. Like I get it. It is not a humor style for everyone. It's not type of commentary for everyone. I get it. But people canceling it and trying to shut it down, fuck you. Anti free speech like killjoys.
Yeah, amen to that. You know, and I guess the thing that amazes me is that like like all things considered, the event was a success. Like
Yeah.
nobody. The thing that I guess that amazes me is like
Nobody got hurt.
nobody got hurt.
I'm
No,
actually I'm just gonna be genuine for a moment. I'm actually surprised there wasn't violence. I thought there'd be a little bit, like not a lot, but I thought there's gonna be some, but no violence. I mean, the protesters doxed me again outside the event, but they were just doing these like really cringy chants. Like you probably saw on Facebook, I posted like this one clip where the one dude who it was the same guy that was like doxed me outside the student center. He started channeling his like inner Third Reich, and he's like, I don't think my mic's picking up, but he's like, oh, like he's like screaming into it. I can't even imitate because it's just so cringe. Like you'll just have to see it
yeah,
when I upload the protester footage. But it's just like he's like screaming into it. I'm like, bro, chill. And it was just a lot of shouting and yelling, and that's about it. I went out there for a brief bit, and one of the guys recognized me. He's like, "Oh, hey, Sean." I'm like, "Oh no, oh here they come," but nothing came of it. And we packed the room. There was all this like fake news going around, like, "Oh, the Love is Louder had so many more people." It's like, well, number one, they stole our room. Number two, we're on a left wing campus where no, like 95% of students are left wing. Yeah, they're gonna have more people. Okay, that's a very unfair comparison. But we still packed the room, and you wouldn't know it because none of the media who had cameras in the back, multiple media outlets, they had their cameras in the back, printed any pictures of the events. Center Daily Times had two. One of like Milo that looked iconic, and one that kind of showed a bit of the crowd and the screen, but that's it. when I do events normally, I've always had pictures come out of the events that were front page or on the home page or in the article as like the featured image. This time, nothing. I mean, they had photographers in there, they had videographers in there. I know they didn't want to make this event look successful because it was. I mean, every event has its problems behind the scenes, trust me, and we did too. But it was a success. We packed the room, and we got a lot of love and hate, and lots of media coverage, lots of interesting conversations, came lots of interesting points, and we did what we set out to do. I mean, we got him in there. We got Milo Yiannopoulos on the campus for the first time in 4 years. Who else can say that? Nobody else. Literally nobody else. I mean, it was an achievement for free speech. Absolute victory for free speech. To be able to get somebody who's normally canceled and shut down from campuses back to a campus and more provocative and and having more fun than ever.
Awesome.
And there may be more in the future, so stay tuned.
That is exactly what I was gonna ask. I'm not sure how much you can share with the audience, but what are the plans for Uncensored America in the future?
Plan for Uncensored America is 2 words: aggressive expansion. Yeah, yeah. I have, one of the amazing things that came before even the event actually happened, like right after we announced it and it blew up. One of the really hopeful things that came out is I got 2 people immediately from 2 major universities, public universities, that said, dude, I've been waiting for something like this. Can I do this at my campus? Can I start a chapter here? So, and I even told you before this recording, I was talking to someone on the phone about all this. So we're in the works on expanding and going on another campus, doing another event at Penn State, but doing events at more campuses because free speech is missing, conversations are missing, a place to have these conversations is missing. So we're going to be trying to expand, and I think we can do it. I'm very hopeful, and I think we can get a lot of interesting speakers campuses that have either never been to a campus or haven't been in years, and start opening up the dialogue more and having more voice at the table that you just don't hear anymore.
Oh yes. Well, you certainly have one individual from Florida who's very interested in getting involved. I can't
I wonder who that is.
I can't think of the guy's name right now, but he lives in people's heads on the internet rent free.
Dude, we were so rent free with this event. Like, it's hilarious because this one, I think it was a PSU professor or something like that. She had this tweet where she's like calling for like an 11-3 commission. Like she's calling for like a full-on investigation into this event and how it was funded and blah blah blah. And she has the tweet pinned to her timeline. I'm like, rent free. I mean, holy shit.
She's trying to January 6th, you guys.
Yeah, it's an 11-3 commission because the event took place on November 3rd. It's an 11-3 commission. I'm like, bring it on. Bring it on. We did nothing wrong. We followed the rules. We did it right. Deal with it. So, I guess, well, I think we'll be fine Penn State, but we're going to try other campuses. I know how to work the system. So I can help people start these chapters up. It's much needed. And like I said, we want speakers from all political sides. Like, we're literally planning to find somebody in the left wing for the next event, Penn State, because, like I said, we want to hear from both things, or maybe do a debate with someone on the right and the left, or one person on one side of an issue and one on the other. I mean, the possibilities are endless. We're having like a comedy night or just a debate night with multiple people. Like, I don't know. We'll figure it out, but we are trying to do more things. If anybody wants to start a chapter at their campus or knows somebody who wants to, just go to uncensoredamerica.us. That's our website. There's a contact form, and I'm probably going to make another form for just for people that want to start chapters, but there's a contact form right on the homepage at the bottom. You can fill it out. Tell me what you want to do, and we can start going with it. And I'll be in contact with anybody that's interested. I mean, I genuinely see potential in this, and I know there is a hunger for it. And I just want people to be talking again. Like it's that simple. And we're just not talking to each other anymore.
Right.
And there are different ways to do it. Like usually one of the tactics is being provocative because it gets people's attention, it gets them interested, and it brings them out to things. Like, would Jeff really have come to this event if it wasn't provocative? I don't know. But he came out to it, and that's a win. That's a total win for free speech and for coming together a bit. Because yeah, you may disagree, there may be fiery, but mostly peaceful protests, whatever. But just getting people to engage or listen is the key. I mean, it really isn't just talking, it's also listening. I want people to listen more. And it was good to see a lot of people. There were people that were calling Milo a grifter during the Q&A. It's like there were people that clearly disagreed or had gripes or issues with him, but having them there was a win.
Well,
A win for everyone.
I'm sorry that the Scorpio was in the was in the building. But I get, that Mexican can travel, that's for sure. So when he puts his mind to it, so.
I
But
thought he's too poor to do anything. I thought he loves not traveling because he loves being poor.
oh boy. He
Yeah, shots fired. I'm
he
just regurgitating what he said to me, which I think is dumb, but people can have dumb opinions.
he would be an interesting person uh to have like on a panel.
Oh, I'd love to have him during like Q&A. I would
Yeah.
love that. Like that's the thing with Milo and like this whole thing. That's another thing I'll touch on. One of my pet peeves with Turning Point, one of my other points of falling out with them, and it was when the hate started to grow with me in Turning Point was um, during the Don Jr. event that we had. Again, I love Don Jr. I'm a fan of him, but I hated how the Q&A was handled because Charlie goes, if you want to ask a question, go on Twitter, use the hashtag, and we will have a representative ask your question. I'm like, that's not a Q&A. That's you picking the questions you like and filtering it. That's not free speech. That's not open. Nobody liked that. I hate that more than anybody else. And I was disappointed because we were told it wasn't going to be like that. So that was my big thing with like the Sargon event with Turning Point, and this org in general. When I started doing stuff with this org, Q&As are always open, always open mic where people can come up and ask a question. It's none of this cherry pick bullshit, this filtering, and that's what's great is that the speakers that are canceled, the speakers that are controversial, the speakers that Turning Point hates, and the ones that aren't allowed to speak with anybody else, they want open Q&As too. And I was even talking to Milo about it in the car. I was like, yeah, Charlie filtered our Q&A and everybody hated it. And he's like baffled. He's like, dude, what's so hard about Q&A? It's not scary. And it's because, this is what he told me, it's so true, is that Charlie just doesn't believe in anything. And that's why they don't want to do these things, because they're not confident in their ability to answer questions because they don't believe in anything.
Well, here's what I think happened with Charlie Kirk, dude, is like, and I know we've talked about this in private, but like, and I've said this in public too. I think Charlie started off with good intentions, but then once that donor money started rolling in big time, that's what it became about. It it's
Mm,
it stopped being about the mission. I think this is just, outside looking in. It stopped being uh about the mission, and it became about the money and the
yeah,
fame.
yeah.
And look, have I been tempted by all of that? Sure. I'm not going to deny that. But when it starts to when you throw people under the bus who are trying to help your organization like Troy has, and when keeping your money becomes the sole purpose for an organization, that's not a good thing. So
Yeah, it's wrong. Like he and so many other people in Turning Point have done morally wrong, awful things to a lot of people. I've heard the stories, and you have too, and we've talked a lot about this off air, but it's really sickening, a lot of the things I've heard. And it totally just disgusted me and made me realize this isn't for me. This is not my thing. This is wrong. I'm going to do my own thing. And of course, I am very careful to make sure I don't become that either. I don't want to become the thing I hate. I mean, on the one hand, if this becomes my full-time gig, which I hope it does, honestly, because I'm not going back to the corporate world, and I don't want my restaurant job I have right now is not a permanent thing. But I need to make a living. I need to put food on the table. I need to pay for my contacts. I need to pay for my therapy. I need to pay for everything, my house, my apartment, whatever it is, rent. I need to be able to pay for the equipment, my computer, everything I need to food, water, like everything I need to survive and continue the organization, grow and do good things and make the world maybe a tiny better place. I don't know, and have some fun. I need money. That's just the reality of it. But I'm not going to be like, 10 Lambos in the garage and be like, could use 11 or 12. Charlie, you could ditch a Lambo or two, You don't need it all. And look, I would love to have Ferrari. I love to have Lambo. I love a lot of rich people things. I'd love to be rich. But there is a line, and you can't let the money consume you, and you can't be greedy. It's that simple. You can't put greed and money before principle and doing what's right.
Yeah.
And usually, and Milo said this too, I found so true, is that usually the people that are genuine, usually the people that are for real and that say what they actually believe have lost everything, or at least something.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That has been my experience as well. So.
Yeah. I've lost friends over this, or so-called friends. I've lost relationships. I've lost networking opportunities. I've lost potential careers. I've lost money, literally. Like, I had to invest a good chunk of money in this that I'm not getting back, and I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It really does not bother me. I'm not saying it's to brag or anything, but I'm just saying that this is what it takes, and this is how I genuinely feel. And, to touch quickly on this, because, you can take this where you want next, or how much time you have left. But that's something that really, my biggest lesson from this thing is usually all these sort of big things I'm involved with, they always sort of show people's true colors, but nothing like this. This event showed people's true colors. This event showed me who my real friends were. It showed me who really cared about me, who really supported me, who really stood for free speech, and it was really my friend. It was very eye-opening. I've said this to you privately, but I have to say publicly because it's a teachable moment. It's the chips were down, and the people who stood by me, I will remember, and I will forever be grateful for you, and I will forever be your friend unless you do something to me or you do something bad. But that means a lot to me because people who didn't stand by me, I don't expect anybody on the left to. I don't. I love seeing when people like Jeff, who are left wing, but came to the event, may disagree, whatever, but didn't go out of their way to like bash me or dox me or anything like that. He's a good guy, and it showed. And all these other people on the left, though, of course, I've already listed the awful things they've done and said, but when you see people because I am a right-wing Republican Trump supporter, when you see people on your own side, when you see these so-called free speech warriors disavow, put on their Instagram page, do better, Penn State, and regurgitate all this leftist nonsense that they claim to hate, that really was a line crossed for me. And that really, again, showed me who my real friends were. And it really, I will never forget anybody that reposted that. For context, too, I was mentioning this earlier, that magazine Valley Mag, they, like I said, they had this post that had a picture of the poster and said, do better, Penn State. But, what really pissed me off and pissed my friends off, too, is when you read the post, which none of these people did, or if they did, that's even worse. They're basically calling for the event to be canceled. Like, they flat out say this event should not happen. Like, they literally say it word for word. Something along those words, but you get the point. Like, they literally call for this event to be canceled. It's anti-free speech. They're calling for this to be censored. And all these free speech warrior friends of mine, free speech warriors, they reposted this garbage. And even if you didn't read the post, even if you're just reposting the image and not reading the post, what does do better Penn State mean? And I'd ask these people, I'm genuinely curious. What do you want Penn State to do? How can they do better? They've already disavowed it. They've already condemned it. What else can they do? There's only one other thing they can do. It's cancel the event. So you're calling for censorship. You may not realize it, but you are. And that is what I told these people. I told this one dude who's the VP of CR straight up. I'm like, you are literally calling for censorship. You are literally supporting censorship. And he's like, no, I'm not. I stand for free speech. I don't want to cancel. I'm like, you reposted this thing. You reposted the Do Better Penn State, where in their post, they call for the event to be shut down. Even if you didn't read it, the fucking, the image itself has Do Better Penn State on it. And that's the only thing that they would do that's better, is cancel the event. So, I know I went on a rant there, but it is a worthy rant because of how just pathetic, weak, and fake these so-called free speech warriors, these college Republicans, these turning point people that all hold the signs saying they're for free speech and blah, blah, blah. Supporting speech still, even if we don't like it. Yeah, you all called for it to be censored. And I remember everybody who did. I will always remember everyone who reposts that image calling for this thing to be shut down.
Well, and this is precisely why I wanted to have you on one-on-one, because
So I can have my go off moment.
well, I mean,
Go off, King.
I mean, you kind of deserve it, but also I wanted to allow you to really kind of, I mean, everything you have said, you do not seem like an aggressive person at all. You don't, you know,
Very harmless.
I mean,
I'm only 5'7". I'm very harmless.
well, and you're kind of, and I mean, I say this as a fellow introvert. You're what my mom calls a skilled introvert, which I mean, I guess is what I am too. I forget
I'm an introvert, but I am more than willing to speak up when I have to.
which is well, skilled introverts are they're introverted, but they're good at communicating with other people when they need to. Which
Yeah.
which is honestly exactly how I am. But like, you're not being malicious. You're not you know, any of that. And so I just want to have you on to kind of, talk about the event, the behind the scenes and everything else. Because yeah, I mean it's one thing to talk about it beforehand like we did. It's and it's another thing to have the event. It's entirely different to look back in retrospect and see
Right.
how did everything go.
I am very grateful and for you to have me on again. I thank you so much, and I'm glad about that because obviously there's some going off moments there. There's some venting, there's some ranting and raving, but I hope it tells people, like, gives people a little taste of like what's really like in the game, what's really like in these organizations with these people. I mean, your mileage may vary, and it very well will, but this is my experience, and I know others have had similar experiences. You can vouch for that. Other people that want to start chapters can vouch for that too. And I know what it's like to be disenfranchised and disillusioned by these so-called free speech organizations and whatnot. But it's again, there's always hope, though. That's why I just gotta run home with is that there may be some awful people and awful organizations, but there's still hope. Things can change. You just gotta be that change. It just takes one person, put one brick down to inspire the next brick. And that's some Snowden said. I forget how he phrased it, but you're not going to change the world, but if you can inspire somebody else to do something, then that's a win. That's wonderful. I mean, you just need to do a little bit so that somebody else can then do a little bit and then do a little bit and then do a little bit. It's like it's a ripple effect, and I hope we accomplish that. But I want to touch real quick again because I am petty. I'm not gonna lie about some things. Pettiness, by the way, the more you get involved with these things, the more you are politically active. Pettiness is the best trait to have. And let me tell you why. Because there are certain people out there that are just so awful. And if you just let things slide, they will squirm their way to the top of some organization or company and get away with everything. But these CR types, these turn point types that were fake, this is how fake and honestly just dumb they are. Like, some of these people they just don't get it. There was one person, I'm not going to name their position or who they were or whatever, but they're up there, they're important-ish, or try to be, in the CRs, that was like, this is terrible for free speech. This is going to make it so much harder to get speakers now. First of all, the CRs haven't had a speaking event in years. Since I think it's been 3 years since they had one. It was Art Laffer. It wasn't anything exciting or interesting. I mean, nothing against Art Laffer, but it's like, it's not this big deal or anything like that. There was only like 50 people in attendance, and like like 3/4 of the room were empty. But they don't do anything. That's what pisses me off. Everybody loves to criticize me, loves to hate me. They aren't doing anything. They're just sitting on their asses, complaining, while they're doing nothing. What are they doing for free speech? What are they doing for the culture war? Nothing. And when they do stuff, this is what our college Republicans do. They take selfies with the Gender Equity Center. They go on scavenger hunts with the Black Caucus. I'm like, what are you doing? You call yourself the college Republicans, and you're just trying to be friends with people that hate you. I mean, I'm just talking from a strategy standpoint. It doesn't make any sense. Like, you're not bridging any gaps here. They still hate you. Like, it's not changing anything. And you're not fighting for what you believe in or for your own side or your own people, your own Republicans, your own constituents. So they make all this fuss, and then they totally lie and say, oh, it's going to make it harder to bring speakers. No, it's not. It doesn't change anything about bringing speakers. Actually, a lot easier than you think. You would know if you tried to do it, which they haven't. But, and then you get the grifters, too, that come off this, that try to grift off of you for these things. But thankfully, when you have something that's edgy and controversial and something that everybody can disavows, a lot of those grifters don't even want to touch you. So you get, like, the real people. But I don't know, maybe that's a little rambly right there, but that's a little more insight into things and how these people are.
Always very interesting. Yeah, I mean, if you can play it safe and not get anywhere, or you can be a bit, risky, and
Holy nail it, Sam. That's so true. The CRs, they play it safe and they go nowhere. They go nowhere. They accomplish nothing. They just have parties and they virtue signal. We play dangerous. We push the boundaries. We move things in a better direction. We accomplish greatness. Oh, that's another thing real quick. You want to know who else disavowed us? Thon. You want to know what Thon is? It's a charity for cancer. Kids with cancer. What the fuck do they have to do with a Milo event called Pray the Gateway? They have nothing to do with it, but even they disavowed. It just shows you that this was amazing. What we did was amazing.
Yeah, no, that is that was I do remember you saying that, and I thought, that is strange.
I know it was a strange. Oh, I need to add something to that. I wanted to mention this at the end of the event, but people started like getting up and leaving, so it's like, oh, come on, people, I'm not done yet. But it's how these things works. Whatever. One thing I want to mention here is that there's a guy now. I won't name him because he's already in enough trouble. He's a Thon chair in his fraternity, and he was one of the first people to get tickets for this event. He even called me up, was all excited about, bought tickets, the whole 9 yards. And he then, oh fuck, what was I gonna say? I'm playing a game. These are gamer hours, so I'm multitasking, and he calls me up one day, and he's like, "Yo, bro, um, look what I just posted on Instagram." And he, like I say, he's a Thon chair for his fraternity, but he on Thon's disavour event, he asked one simple question: does Thon stand for free speech? He didn't say Thon doesn't stand for free speech. He didn't make any statements. He just asked a simple question: does Thon stand for free speech? It's a question, just a question. Doesn't take long. A few days later, his fraternity removed him as Thon chair, and
Wow.
they then threatened him: if you post a picture with Milo online, we're kicking you out of the fraternity, and we have the votes to do it. That right
Whoa.
there is the problem of everything we've been talking about. Cancel culture, again, it doesn't just happen to people big and famous. It's happening to normal people, people like you and me, people that you know. It's
Yeah.
awful. It's disgusting. And this is a very nice guy, very cool guy, not hateful bone in his body, and everybody's who are supposedly his brothers all ganging up on him, threatening to kick him out of this fraternity. They removed him as founder. I mean, damnable. And I wanted to mention it, but I didn't get a chance to. But um, next time we do something, I have to. I might even send out an email thing to all of our ticket holders about because it's just so awful. It's so awful. I mean, oh, I feel bad for him, but total trooper just took it. And he's just like, yeah, fuck it. If that's how they're gonna treat me, I don't want them. Like, go off, King.
That's who you know who your real friends are. It's funny because uh it's funny because after Trump won in 2016, like I had a few friends from my Boy Scout troop, like, you know, guys who I'd grown up with, like, you know, like they had disavowed me and being like, I can't believe that you, Sam, you're such a nice guy. Like,
Yeah, don't you love those?
how
They're like, how could you? You're
how
so nice.
how could you have voted for such an asshole like Trump? I'm not sure I can associate with you anymore. And I was like, well, I hate to see you go, but if you feel that way, I can't stop you. And some of them like did break it off. Others were like, wait, wait. So you're willing to end our relationship because of politics? No, you are. I'm not the one. I'm not the
Yeah,
one saying that. You are.
yeah.
I'm just saying that I don't want you to, but I'm not gonna beg. I'm not gonna beg you to be my friend still. So
It's
and
unbelievable. It's
and
amazing.
and
Absolutely
and so
amazing.
lo and behold, I called their bluff, and some of them were like, it's we can still be friends. It's stupid. So, and
Mm,
that's what you have to do. Sometimes you have to call people's bluff. So,
yeah, that's true. I mean, I sometimes do, but then sometimes I'm just like, if you're even going to even think about that about me, when you know who I am, especially the people that really know me, that like know some secrets about me and knows real stuff about me. It's like if you're even like considering that, if you even say that to me, you ain't my friend. I don't want anything to do with you. I mean, that's
right.
just me, but
Oh yeah,
I mean, and I've told you some stuff off there too about this. Like when we had that one talk, it's like when people know some of these things, it's like, how could you? Like, what's wrong with you if you think those awful things about me and you call me a friend, you say you know me, it's like, oh my god, he was Nazi the whole time. Oh, it's like, get a grip.
oh
I'm
yeah,
not this evil monster.
yeah. No, I've I've burned. Well, I haven't. Let me be clear. I have not burned bridges. I've I've been on the other side where other people have burned bridges, and I've just been like, okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of what happens to me. It's just I just the way I look is just stay true to you, be real, be honest, and if people don't like that, you don't need them.
Yep.
Especially
And
after having a fake friend in my life, it's like never again. I can't deal with it. I don't have the time for it. I don't want it. It's awful. It's like one of those things that once you go through it, you never want to do it again. And so that's why I'm glad like some of these things have happened to me because then I've learned. And it's like this event, like I said, I love how this showed people true colors. I love it so much. Because I just love honesty. I really do. And came out with this event. It really did.
yep, I feel the same way. Um, and I mean, I think that's been a good place to end it. Just stay true to who you are. Um, you know,
Yeah.
so
Perfect way to end it.
yep.
Be real, people. Just keep it real. Keep it real.
So one final thing before we go. Where can we find you guys for future events and you know, any sneak previews, or are you still in the planning stages of things?
I'd love to give a sneak preview. The most I can say is that aggressive expansion is our plan. That's the best I can hint at because I don't want to make any promises I can't keep just yet, especially when things are up in the air. But if you want to follow the organization, it's uncensoredamerica.us is our website. You can find everything on there. Like I said, there are contact forms. You can get on our email list. You can watch a replay of the event, of the Milo event. You can check out everything there. And I'm going to be updating the site too with new pictures of everything. And um, all of our social media links are on there. But you can also go to on Twitter. I think it's at Uncensored AM is our Twitter. At Uncensored America on Instagram, at Uncensored AM on Facebook, and on Telegram, t.me/Uncensored America. And they're all in the link tree, which you can find. I forget how link trees links work, but it's whatever the link tree thing is /Uncensored America. But like I said, it's all on the website. That's the best place to go. If you want to follow me personally and want to hear all my hot steaming takes coming out of the oven, you can just go to Twitter at Sean Semanko, spelled SeanSemanko, and also on Gab at Sean Semanko. But I don't really post there as much. I try to remember the copy paste, but I just don't. But Twitter is my go-to place while I'm still not banned from there. So at Sean Semanko on Twitter, at Uncensored AM on Twitter, uncensoredamerica.us is the website to go to. So please go there, subscribe to the email list, follow us, tell your friends about it. If you know anybody who wants to start a chapter, hit them up with the contact form.
Amen. Yeah, that
And
sounds
everybody
good.
needs to follow Sam. If you haven't yet, subscribe to this wonderful channel, this wonderful man.
So,
And Jeff. Let's get him on Jeff's Twitter too.
yeah, let's keep spreading. Like I always like to say, folks, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've got 777 subscribers now, so
Whoa.
we're almost at 1,000. Not quite there yet, but
You're
almost.
gonna get to 999, then you're gonna get your account suspended.
Yeah, that's how it's going to go. But we're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, where you can now subscribe to the podcast for $4.99 a month and get some additional premium episodes.
Whoa. You have like premium pricing now? What's going on, Sammy? You hit that 777, now you're starting to slap on a dollar sign.
Yeah, well, you gotta make a living somehow.
You grifter. You grifter. You're just
Uh,
grifting, man.
yes.
You want to make money at this? What are you, a grifter? What are you, a snake oil salesman? What's wrong with you?
You've been listening to that bad hombre Scorpio
I don't pray.
for
Can
too for too long. But
I just give a quick 1 second rant? I fucking hate when people call you a grifter just because you earned a living off of politics and commentary.
or just the internet in general.
Yeah,
Like,
just the internet in general. Oh, you got a super chat, you fucking grifter. It's like, yeah, this is how I make money. Deal with it.
yeah, for sure. So, but yeah, we're out here. We're spreading the word. We're bringing back the conservative empire. Uh, we're grifting in some people's minds, I guess, but we're just trying to make a living out here. So once again, support Uncensored America. Support the Whitfield Report if you can. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'll be back on Thursday for the Memorial Day show. Hopefully, we'll have an exciting guest on, but I don't want to make an announcement quite yet. And then, of course,
Ooh.
we will have the Saturday show, and hopefully, Apex will be back because he has some stuff he has to answer for. But anyway, folks, from all of us here at NGC Studios, have a good day wherever you're watching and listening. Thanks for tuning in. God bless. God save this great nation. God for delicacy in that order. And I will see you on the next episode of the Whitfield Report.